Voilà. So as you know, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your question or comment by speaking it or writing it in the chat box.
Magdi, I have a question. This is George.
Yes. Hello, George.
Hi there.
Yes, George.
My question has to do with awareness, consciousness, which I think is what this is all about. And if I look into my direct experience, there are thoughts, there are perceptions, colors, sounds, whatever. There are also these objects of perception. I don't know whether they actually exist or not, like the room and trees and stuff like that. But then the notion of awareness is somewhat more abstract. In other words, it's not something I can directly perceive. But on the other hand, if you ask me, well, are you aware? Yeah, of course I'm aware, right? So there's no doubt about it there. And my question is about the universality of awareness. I mean, you've mentioned several times that awareness is universal, it's not personal. There's only one awareness, and I don't get that at all. Okay. I don't know if you could help me with that, if you could say anything about it. I can't get that. So please explain as much as you can about that.
Well, first, let's talk about the reality of awareness, consciousness.
Yes.
I use the same word, as you know, awareness, consciousness, as one word, not two different meanings.
Right.
First, the reality of that. You started by saying that in your experience, there are perceptions, sensations, and meditations, and thoughts.
Right.
And that then you said the notion of awareness is something that somehow you have full grasp on. In fact, nor do I have no idea what the notion of awareness is.
Okay, good.
Because awareness as a notion, I don't know what that is. But I know that there is something rather than nothing, meaning that in this very moment, whatever may be appearing, whatever is appearing, there is a reality to it. The reality is not necessarily what is appearing, because I know that in my night dreams, for example, there are all sorts of appearances, like pink flying elephants. But these appearances upon waking up, although they may seem to be very real within the dream, upon waking up, I realized that there was no such thing as a pink flying elephant, in fact. But although there is no pink flying elephant, there was a reality to the experience of the imaginary or illusory pink flying elephant.
Right.
So that reality, this is what I call awareness consciousness. But it's not a notion, because the notion of awareness consciousness, every person can have their own notion. I can have a notion about awareness right now. 2 hours later, I may change my mind, have another notion. So I'm not talking about a notion. I am talking about the reality of our experience. So right now, you hear these words. These words, you are hearing them via a certain instrument, via the auditory instrument.
Yes.
Every auditory instrument is different. the decibel receptivity
Yes.
of the auditory instrument vary from, maybe in micro decibels from instrument to instrument, right? So although the instrument may be different, may differ, and therefore the decibel receptivity may differ, the reality that perceives whether it's no matter what the level, what the decibel level is, the reality that perceives has nothing to do with the decibel level that is being perceived. You follow?
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay.
I understand the first part. Obviously, the decibel level changes.
Right.
It's a function of frequency. I mean,
yes, right.
I understand all that.
Right. But whatever it is that perceives decibel level A or decibel level B, okay, that reality is the same reality.
The reality that perceives. So you're talking about the perceiver.
Well, you hear these words, don't you?
Well, I don't. These words are these words are being heard. Yes. Yes, I hear these words. Yes.
Yes. So whether you're hearing this whisper or whether you're hearing this, it's still the same I that is hearing this whisper or that is hearing a loud noise.
Yes. Yes.
So whatever it is that he hears, whether it's a whisper or whether it's a loud sound, that is the same.
Yes. Okay. I got it now. Yes. Okay.
You're on board.
I get it. The sounds are different, but the reality of the hearing is the same.
Right. So
okay. Good. I got that.
Right. Okay. So by consciousness, I'm referring to the reality of experience, not the content of experience. The reality of the experience.
Okay.
Not what is appearing, but what truly perceives. You follow?
Yeah, it seems that there are three things there.
Okay.
There's what's being perceived, like the words you're saying, the sounds. And then there's the action of hearing, the perception. And then there's what you're saying is the reality of that. Am I right now?
Okay. Yeah, we could say that. That's fine.
Okay.
That works.
Okay, good, fine.
So by consciousness, I'm referring to the reality that perceives.
Okay.
Right? So right. It's not a notion. I mean,
okay.
we're speaking, so we're using language, we're using concepts,
right.
but we're not referring to a concept. We're referring to the reality that right now hears these words.
The reality.
And that is not a concept.
Okay, I got that. There's a reality. Right now, I'm looking at my screen. I'm seeing you. I'm seeing yes, there's a reality right now. Okay.
And the reality is the reality of I. It is not the reality of seeing or perceiving. It's the reality of I, the reality of awareness, of consciousness.
Okay. All right. I get that now. So the reality of that reality we label with the word I.
Okay. So now let's turn our attention to consciousness, meaning let's turn our attention to I. Yes?
Okay.
So first, I would like to propose that whatever it is that is turning its attention to I is I itself.
Right.
Whatever is turning its attention towards consciousness is consciousness itself.
Right. There's nothing else. Right. Yes.
Yes. So when you are turning your attention towards an object, like when I tell you turn your attention towards the oak tree, you direct your attention towards the yard and you perceive the oak tree. There is an object.
Right.
It has a certain form, a certain color, a certain shape, a certain size, etc.
Right.
When I tell you to turn your attention towards consciousness, when I turns its attention towards I, it is not turning its attention towards an object.
Right.
It is turning its attention towards itself. non-object.
Okay.
And the oak tree has a certain size. It starts over here and ends over there. It's 20 foot tall, or 30 foot tall, or 40 foot tall.
Right.
From the trunk, even from the root. You can even imagine from the root all the way up to the top of the tree.
It has a physicality,
Yes.
it has a size, it has a location, yes.
Yes. And there is a female oak tree and a male oak tree.
Okay.
And there is the pollination process.
Right.
Now, when you turn your attention towards consciousness, you do not find a size, you do not find a gender, you do not find a density, you do not find a viscosity, you do not find a beginning, you do not find an ending.
Right.
So I would invite you to consider that, given that we cannot find any finite qualities to consciousness, that it has therefore no edges and no borders.
It has no edges, no borders. You've said that before, and I get that. It has no edge. I can't find it. Obviously, yes, I get that. It has no edges, no borders. There can't be anything outside of it.
And it is transparent. It has no color, no density.
It has none of those properties, yes.
And that's what we're referring to as I.
Okay, I got that.
So turn your attention towards the I.
Okay.
That is transparent right now.
Okay.
The transparency of I, the transparency of awareness. So turn your attention to, let's say, about maybe a few inches behind your head. Imagine yourself. Do not perceive from your eyes. Go to about a few inches, 6, 8 inches, whatever, doesn't matter, behind your head.
Okay, I can imagine that. Yes.
And perceive from that place. Now, you're not perceiving through your eyes, you're perceiving from a focal point that is behind your head.
Right. I see the back of my head. Yes. Okay.
Yes. And you're perceiving the back of your head, and you're perceiving the space, the room, the screen,
right.
It's a non-focal, non-centered, non-focal perceptual field.
I don't know what you mean by non-focal. It's not any different when I see out of my eyes, or if I imagine I'm 8 inches behind, it seems the scenery is different, but why is one focal and the other not? I don't quite get that.
I'm inviting you to defocus your perception from where your eyes are, which is sort of a focal point, to a, let's say, a perceptual field, a field that is perceiving from a space behind your head.
Okay.
In other words, since we already talked that consciousness is non-objective,
right?
Therefore, we can agree that it has no center.
Right.
Like a ball has a center.
Right.
An acorn has a center. But awareness, being non-objective, has no center.
And also a thought has no center, which is...
And a thought has no center. But let's stay with consciousness, because that's what your question was about.
Okay.
So now that we understand that consciousness has no center, meaning there's no focal point to it.
Right.
The thing is not to simply understand that, but to come to the experience of that.
Okay, that's harder. Okay.
So I'm inviting you to perceive, not from a focal point, but to, let's say, be the perceptual field.
Okay.
So your face is expanded. The focal point is invited to expand.
Expand. Widen that focal point instead of just.
The focal point is invited to expand.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I can imagine that now. Okay.
And the eye that is usually centered somewhere in the head or behind the eyes or within the eyes,
right,
is now formless. The eye is an expanded eye.
Got it. Yes, I can imagine that. Okay. Okay.
So you're perceiving as a perceptual field. You are the perceptual field.
Okay. Perception.
That's what we call perception. Perception, from the point of view of consciousness, refers to being the perceptual field.
No, I can't. I hear that, but I can't really get that.
So until we meet again, I invite you to explore perceiving from a different, rather than perceiving from a focal point, invite yourself to perceive or to be the perceptual field, or to perceive as a vaster perceptual field. Defocus, to invite that focused impression to relax and to embrace the entire perceptual field.
Okay.
Another way of looking at it, notice that you are perceiving, you're not perceiving an object. Notice that you are perceiving your perception.
Right.
And that your perception is located within awareness.
Okay. When you say located within, you don't mean that literally, but okay.
It's okay. It's within awareness. Your perception is within awareness. Yes?
Yes.
And awareness is formless, has no form.
Right.
So I'm inviting you to look at your perception as a field of awareness.
Okay. And you're inviting me to, let me just make sure I hear you right. So what you're suggesting I do is to expand the source. I don't know what is source. Now, right now, when I look out, it's as if I'm looking out from these eyes right here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're inviting me to do is to expand that source. In other words, rather than looking out of these eyes here, look out from expanded sort of eyes, expanded ears, expanded whatever.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So that invite, yes, so, yes, what you said, yes to what you said. Also invite your perception to merge with the field of awareness that is aware of it.
Hold it. I don't quite get that.
Okay. Invite your perception.
My perception, like my visual perception.
Right now, whatever you're perceiving right now.
Okay.
To merge with the awareness that is aware of the perception. Because the awareness is, let's say the awareness, start with the assumption that the awareness is vaster than the perception. Assumption. Let's start with the assumption.
Okay.
Let's start with the assumption that the awareness is larger than the perceived object. Assumption.
Okay.
Let's assume that together.
Okay.
then invite your perception, whatever it is that you're perceiving, to expand and become intimate with the field of awareness that has no form, that is borderless.
Okay.
Whichever way you play with that, whichever way you explore that, is fine. Don't rigidify yourself around a very particular process.
Okay.
An invitation to, it's an invitation of your perception to recognize and to come to join and to meet the field of awareness. Because there is a field of awareness right now, yes?
Well,
you're aware right now, yes?
Yes, I'm aware.
There is awareness right now, yes?
There is awareness right now, yes.
Yes, and so when I say the field of awareness is because I'm using the term the field because I don't want you to consider awareness to be an object or some concept or something specific. It has no, awareness has no form, no shape, no limits, no gender. So I'm using the term field, just a relative language. Just
okay, but let me just ask it. If I just look at vision, for example, vision also has no location, has no, whatever. Okay?
What do you mean by vision?
Good question.
When you say vision, what are you referring to?
I'm referring to it's a good question. I'm referring to the experience. I have a visual experience now. I'm seeing colors.
That's what we refer to as perception.
Perception, yes, that's what I mean.
Perception, yeah.
Yeah. So I lost my point. So, I mean, perception seems to have those same qualities that you ascribe to awareness. As perception has no borders.
Yes,
correct. Has no location.
Yes. So
I'm trying to.
And okay, so that's good. Let's stay with that. So perception has no location, no form. It's yes. Now, what about the perceiver?
Okay, that's more difficult. Okay. Well, is there a perceiver? That's the thing. Okay.
What about the perceiver? Now, is the perceiver in your experience different from the perception? Is there like a separate perceiver in your experience?
No.
So the perceiver and the perception are really one thing.
Yes.
So the perceiver itself, therefore, similar to the perception, has no form, no shape, is completely transparent.
Right.
And the perceiver is what we refer to as I.
Okay.
And since awareness is also transparent, has no shape, no form, borderless, therefore the I, awareness, and perception have all the same quality.
Right.
Having the same quality, let's say they're one.
Okay, that's good. Yes.
I would say they're one because you cannot separate the perception out of awareness, nor can you separate the I out of awareness. I awareness.
Yes, I'm with you totally now. Okay.
Right. Now, the perception changes. For example, what you said 5 minutes ago and what we're saying now changed.
Right, good point. Okay, so that's the distinction right there. Okay, I got it. Perception changes all the time. Okay.
But awareness does not.
Awareness does not. I got it. Thank you. Yes.
So the currents in the ocean are constantly changing, but the ocean doesn't.
Got it. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. So that's the distinction. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Now your question was about the universality of awareness.
Yes.
Let's come back to that.
Okay.
Now, so there is this impression that awareness is personal, meaning,
I have that impression, yes.
meaning I have my awareness, your awareness, etc.
Right.
But we already determined that awareness has no shape, no form, no gender, no age, no borders, doesn't start here and end there.
Right.
So how, given that it's formless, how could it be yours? How could anything make it mine?
Well, here's how.
Yes.
The vision that I see right now, the visual experience also has no borders. You know, there's no borders to my visual experience. It has no location. It has all the same properties, and yet it's different from yours. What
Yes.
I perceive is not what you perceive.
Yes, right. The content. So the
I see.
content.
Okay, I see. You're saying the content is different.
The content of awareness changes from moment to moment, from second to second.
Okay.
But I'm not talking about the content of awareness.
Right.
Usually I refer to content of awareness as I use the word mind.
Okay, I understand now.
So mind is personal, meaning there is your mind and my mind.
Right.
But I'm talking about awareness, not its content.
Oh, okay, I got that now. Yes. Okay.
I awareness.
Right. Okay, that was the confusion. Okay, I got it now. Okay.
We confuse I awareness with its content when we say I refers to George and I refers to Magdi. I do not refer to George. George refers to a body-mind experience. It does not refer to I. I refers to awareness.
Okay.
When we confuse I to be the body-mind, which we call George or Magdi or Joey,
Right.
then we have the impression that awareness is personal.
Right.
That awareness refers to George or to Magdi or to Joey.
Right.
So it's important to come to clarity that when we are speaking about I, we're referring not to the content of awareness, but to awareness itself.
Okay, I got it now. Okay.
I awareness. So the universality of awareness, when you contemplate that the body-mind is personal, but that the reality that perceives thought, sensation, mentation is formless, edgeless, has no personal qualities to it. Although there are personal qualities to the body-mind, because you're perceiving your room and I'm perceiving my room, which are different perceptions, meaning the content of the coloring of awareness can differ. You could be, it's like in the ocean, when you come to the Gulf Stream, it is warm, but when you go to another stream out by the North Pole, it's freezing cold.
Right.
There are different temperatures of those two currents, but we're talking about the ocean.
Right. Okay. Okay, I got this now. The only question, yeah. So I've got it. Now I'll have to do as you say, because I mean it's like I'm a level of understanding now, but it's also what you mentioned. This is related to what you mentioned last week with just regard to the separate self. Like I know there's no self here, but you know I haven't embodied that yet, and it's still there's still this residual sense of me here, which I know is fictitious, but it's still here.
Well, the residual sense of me appears to you as what? Can you describe the appearance of the residual sense of me right now, for example? Imagine it.
Let me see. Yes. So the residual sense of me is my beliefs, what I stand for, my relationships.
Okay. Let's stay with that. So the residual sense of me right now appears as a belief. Let's just take an example.
Yes, as a belief.
So,
But yet also as an experience. Because I mean,
okay, so an experience. We're experiencing a belief and a sensation.
yes, belief
Okay,
and
so we're
sensation.
talking about a thought and a sensation, yes?
Right,
A belief is a thought that is not confirmed,
right.
okay? And the sensation is some sort of experience, yes?
Yes,
Okay, so that is how the sense of separate self appears to you right now, for example.
right.
What perceives that?
What perceives that? Well, certainly the separate self doesn't perceive that.
Right.
I guess the only answer to what perceives that is awareness, is the I that you're referring to.
Okay, so there is an impression that appears, there is awareness of that impression. There is an awareness of the thought, there is an awareness of the sensation, yes?
Right,
Now the sensation that appears says, I'm a personal self.
right.
Does the sensation that appear that says, I'm a personal self, does it turn awareness into a personal self?
No, it doesn't.
No.
No, of course it doesn't. Yes, I get it.
Awareness stays as it is.
Awareness stays that it is, right, yes.
So so turn your attention over and over to the awareness that remains as it is.
Okay, yes. Turn my
So
attention.
that whenever a thought impression or a feeling impression or a sensation impression arises that says, I'm a personal self, you are not swept by that current, because you are recognizing that although what appears says I'm a personal self, that does not transform awareness into a personal self.
Right, but I don't get the belief thought I'm a personal self is not what comes up. What comes up is, I mean, that interpretation pervades my whole, I'm saying my whole beingness. I mean, I often, in my life, I often act as if I'm a personal self, but I don't really have the thought, hey, I'm a personal self. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not like a thought comes up.
So what's your problem?
No problem. I just need to do what you say.
No, so if you're saying that there are thoughts and sensations that arise and all is well.
Well, no, all is not well in the sense that, okay.
Okay, so all is not well. Okay, so we need to turn our attention to all is not well. So, that's what we need to explore. Why, for awareness, all is not well? I would venture that there is an image that is appearing, a thought or a sensation that is appearing, that something says, I don't want that.
Yes, yes, yes.
What is that? What is that thing that is saying, I don't want that?
Just another belief, another thought.
Yes, another thought.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Yes. Just another...
billiard balls, playing billiard.
Right. Yes. Okay, good. Thank you.
So, the universality of awareness cannot be proven conceptually, but it can become your experience, your direct experience. So until it becomes your direct experience, invite yourself to the possibility that I awareness is borderless, edgeless, universal, impersonal and universal. Invite yourself to that contemplation and try it out, see how it fits, see how it works.
Okay, very good. I will do that. Thank you.
Conduct your own experiments.
Okay, great. I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, George.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Please send me
George, did you send me your email address?
I thought I did. If I didn't, I will send it as soon as this thing is over.
I do not believe that I've received it. Or if you sent it, I somehow missed it.
I will send it again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. I want to say thank you. I really mean thank you. And this is great. I really appreciate this conversation.
Yes.
I can't thank you enough. This is great. Thank you very much.
Okay, George. Sure. So, any questions?
Magdi?
Yes, hello, Zoe.
Hi. I was re-listening to Sunday's satsang, and you said something on there that really struck me. I guess I never quite heard it that way before, but when I believe it was Andrew was talking, and he said something about like all the time, he was so crazy busy in his mind, and he said, no, actually, that's like the basic trick of the mind to tell you that you're out of the present moment or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you would just talk a little bit more about that.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yes.
really hit home. Thank you.
Yeah.
And maybe other basic tricks of the mind.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, our most direct experience, and of course, our most intimate experience, is I. I is uninterrupted. There is no interruption to I. Not thinking. When I say I, I'm not referring to thinking. Thinking gets interrupted. It gets interrupted in deep sleep, gets interrupted when a thought ends, another one starts, but the I awareness, is never interrupted. That is our most direct experience. A good metaphor is like the wide open sky. The wide open sky is never interrupted. It has no beginning, no end. And within the wide open sky, there are clouds that appear. From the perspective of the cloud, if we could speak that way, all there is cloud. But from the perspective of space, or of the wide open sky, infinite space, all there is space. Space does not recognize an object. There are no objects in the infinity of space. In other words, in the infinity and eternity of awareness, there are no objects. There is nothing that actually exists outside of the reality of consciousness. How could it? How could consciousness leave itself, actually leave itself and become an object and cease to be the formless eternal that it is? Mind, thoughts are like that. They're like imagined precipitations of consciousness into some form. But in fact, consciousness never becomes any form, doesn't recognize any form, cannot actually precipitate into anything. The formless cannot become a form. It's not possible for formlessness to become a form. It's not possible for reality, which is beyond existence and non-existence, to exist. It cannot leave itself, leave its realm, which is beyond existence and non-existence, to exist. Within the realm of thinking, there is the impression that consciousness sort of left itself and precipitated into a body-mind. That consciousness is no longer the transparent presence, and rather it is now some body with a name, with a form, with an age, with a gender. And from that perspective, meaning within the content of thought, there is the me story. There is a series of events which are mentations, which are thoughts and sensations that are spinning around the belief and the feeling that consciousness is a body-mind. And from the perspective of thought, it seems and it feels to be very real, to be a big deal. Like the cloud that has the shape of a dragon feels that it's a big deal, it's a big, huge dragon. But in the infinity of space, it's nothing. But from the perspective of me, my life, my story, my personal spin, my memory, my future hopes and desires, thoughts and sensations are a big deal. But they're really not. They seem to be a big deal from that perspective. But when you shift your perspective via your contemplation, your meditation, via your study of the scriptures and your understanding, when you shift your perspective from being this personal self, that everything is happening to me, there are things happening to me, there is something happening to me, which is just a lot of thoughts and sensations, thoughts and feelings. when you shift your perspective from that spin to the reality of awareness, to the true I that is not male or female or whatever gender I. It's not, has no gender, has no age, no form, the reality of your experience. When you turn your attention from the content of your experience to the reality of your experience, when you turn your attention from thoughts and feelings to awareness, consciousness, you realize that in fact, the seeming power and influence and effect that thoughts had upon you are nil. They amount to nothing. Of course, we don't get there overnight, but our understanding deepens and matures and ripens within us, and we become more and more trusting and more courageous to explore living that way, living as consciousness, as the transparent, aware presence, as being rather than as being somebody. We invite ourselves in various ways to the experience of universal self, of universal being, relaxing into being, allowing, sensing, feeling, without resisting, without trying to fix anything, without an agenda, without trying to maneuver our experience to improve it or to guide it or to protect it or to manage it. So from the perspective of the content of thought, when we are gripped by the sense of personhood, everything seems to be a big deal. Like molasses, we found ourselves looking for a way out. But there is no in and out. It's all empty. Awareness is the freedom of being. It's not in the realm of mind. It's not in the realm of thought. It's complete freedom of being. The peace, the well-being, the freedom. Sort of a an absence, but that is not nihilistic, that is not empty. It is empty, but it's also full of the peace of being. There are no words that really can describe what I am. It's beyond words, beyond mind. So we need to figure our way to awaken to our most direct reality, which is the transparency of being. To sort of not continue to feed the story, the image. Recognize all appearances to be like passing clouds. Empty, insignificant. You can approach them, approach whatever appears to you without leaving yourself. Like a mother takes care of her child, remaining what she is. You deal with the world with whatever appears to you, but keep your attention on what you truly are, what you are truly. Keep your attention on being awareness, on presence, on the peace of being. Keep your attention on the inner peace. Be active on the outside and inactive on the inside. Activity on the outside and stillness on the inside. I'm not sure if I answered your question, Zoe. I may have gone away from your question.
You answered it and then some, Magdi.
Okay.
And thank you. It's beautiful.
Magdi.
Hello, Shiva.
Hi, sending love from Hawaii.
It's wonderful. Hello, Shiva.
To all of you.
Beautiful.
Magdi, I wanted to ask you if you would, for everybody's benefit, including obviously this one, to go back to something we talked about the last time, which detonated inside of me so strongly. So my question had been how to deal with, you know, something negative coming into your field of awareness in form of like what we call another being, things like, you know, ugly things or not nice things or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I had said that I had taken it as an intense mirroring. And then you had said as an answer, I mean, I just sort of paraphrase it, that there is no other mirror but the mirror towards the inside, towards myself, and that the imagined entity who is perceiving other and being hurt by other is actually desiring to be hurt in that way. So correct me if I reported this somewhat distortedly, but I feel this was pretty much the gist of it. Yes. And would you like to expand on that, please?
Yes, Shiva. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So there are aspects of ourselves that are hidden to ourselves. And not all the aspects of ourselves that are hidden are of equal importance. The ones that get triggered are the ones that, the ones that affect us or seem to affect us, are of significance, and they're arising in a timely fashion. It is their time to arise, and in a way, it is our heart's desire for this to arise. We want to be free. We want to be happy, and we want to be free of this, of the vasanas, of the aspects of ourselves that are still personal, still contracted, and still reside in our being. So in our life, there are events that occur. A friend that maybe talks to us in a way that is not very appropriate, or somebody at work mistreats us, whatever. A relationship that goes south. They serve a very important purpose, a very important function. And it's important for us to recognize that we are not being a victim, that in fact, we are being serviced, we are being served via this situation, via this friend who maybe is being not very friendly. There is a tendency an old tendency from the personal self to resist, to defend, to blame, to contract ourselves, to find fault outside of ourselves, find fault in the other, find fault in the world, find fault in our parents, find fault in our culture, whatever. Find fault in God. And this form of fault finding, blaming, self-blaming, blaming others, is one of the ways in which we are not welcoming, are not acknowledging, are not appreciating the gift that is being given to us, that is being presented to us. What I shared with you earlier, Shiva, about being with others and mirroring with others, is that the mirroring starts within ourselves. We are sincere, honest, and true with ourselves. We are interested in really being true to ourselves, being sincere, being transparent from ourselves to ourselves, not so much to others, but with ourselves. It is this honesty and this transparency, and this sincerity with ourselves that is effortlessly shared and felt and affects others. It's not via our intention to mirror to others, but it is our intention to mirror with ourselves, to ourselves, that has more of a reach, touches people's hearts much more than our intention to mirror to others. So we can notice within ourselves, sometimes it's very subtle, the places where we protect, the patterns that we have. Sometimes other people appear in our life to point to us if we're agreeing to see it. They point to us these aspects of ourselves that are not very pretty and that we don't like so much to see, that we have a tendency to sweep them under the rug. And this may require a willingness to feel whatever is arising without wiggling, to sort of get closer, get more intimate with the inner feelings that we are experiencing. With some innocence, with some without any a priori, without within not knowing, in not in acceptance of the not knowing, sort of saying yes to not knowing, and noticing the tendency of the mind to structure, to define, to name, to categorize, to know. Noticing the tendency, which is avoiding. It wants to objectify. In objectifying what it is experiencing, it separates itself. It's the object and the subject. To notice this tendency.
Yeah, it feels like this is really the reason for me being where I am right now, to really apply, that means really live the knowing that there is no other, because it's amazing how the operating system is so ingrained in this process of center of perception being somewhere located in this body, and everything else being other, and this interaction which is constantly happening between the seeming center and the seeming other.
Yes.
And and to actually catch every single thought which relates to something other in a self-inquiry kind of way, and dissolving it over and over and over and over
Yes.
and over
Yes.
again.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is what's happening right now. So this was so potent when you said, oh, it's not somebody other your mirror, but the mirror is within yourself. It really detonated. It was like a
Yes.
time bomb.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And I really so
Yes.
appreciate
Yes. Yes.
so
We separate ourselves. We separate ourselves, and it's that sense of separation that is at the core of our unhappiness. That keeps appearing to us in difficulties in our life. It's that sense of separation that
and it's not only negative, because the separation has very often for so many of us this sort of like negative aspect, but it's also in the positive aspect, like I want to love this or this one. And so in order to have a love relationship in the phenomenal, I need to be separate, because otherwise I cannot love this. I can't desire this. I can't be one with this. So it's this whole kind of insidious process where it's in the whole operating system.
Yes.
So letting go of that is just such a
it's
a wonderful process.
In the desiring, there is the initial assumption of a subject and an object.
Yeah.
So the desire, the root of desire is the sense of separation. So whether we're desiring to be loved, or we're desiring to be left alone, it's still at its root is the sense of separation. It's that sense of separation that keeps appearing in our experience as a sense of lack, or as a sense of danger. It's something that we are missing, that we need, that we desire, that we need to have, which is a sense of lack, or the sense of danger, the need to protect ourselves, to safeguard ourselves, which is the fear of death. And this entire both the resisting and the seeking are rooted in the sense of separation, and the feeling and the belief that there is a separate entity from the universal being. So to go back over and over to our understanding that awareness is borderless, is formless, is universal. There is no separate line between awareness A and awareness B, between presence A and presence B. To keep revisiting that over and over in our in our contemplation. There is it restores. It heals and restores order, because even if you fulfill your desire, it will not fill that void within yourself, which is the void that is a result of the sense of separation.
You know, Magdi, this is understood, and I'm saying understood fully, completely, 100% understood since a good destiny of time.
Yes, beautiful.
Right, of the time thing.
Very nice.
And yet there is still a integration process which is happening. It's unbelievable to see. I mean, you know, a loving teacher once said to me, hard wood burns brightest. But it feels like my system is so stubborn in this ingrained otherness thing, you know? It's so amazing how I find myself, like, you know, waking up in the morning and I see like how it wants to convert back into the I separate in space, in time, what's the thing to do, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I catch it every time, even in dream.
Mhm.
I mean, recently I've been dreaming intensely, and I think it has to do with also the intensity of the energy field here in Hawaii.
Yes.
But I noticed tonight how even in dream there is a fake center which it operates from.
Yes.
This is happening to me. I am seeing the pink flying elephant, you know, or I am the pink flying elephant. Whatever it is, that there is this sort of like referral to this unit.
Mhm.
You know, it's
Yes. Well,
it's amazing. I mean,
what I could
really.
share with you, Shiva, is not to judge it, to forgive it, to allow it, to love it.
I do. I don't judge it,
Yes.
but I still, in the same time, it's like, okay, here you are again. I love you again. I transcend you again. And I'm going to do this till the day the body goes. I don't know. But I mean, if that's the deal, then so good. So be it.
Yes.
But
Well, there are two aspects. There is yes, the forgiving, you know, the loving, and there is also the recognition of the I. I, that
right.
is the transparency of being. I
Mm,
presence. I, the peace of being.
mm,
I, that is not a body mind, that is not a form, that has no age. I, that is this presence, this awareness, this beingness. That
mm,
I, there's also that. Yes, on one hand there is the forgiveness and the allowing, the loving of what arises, and also there is the invitation to the recognition of I
mm,
presence, I beingness, I
mm,
the peace of being.
mm. Thank you so much, Magdi. Mm. I love you. Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions?
Magdi, this is Esther.
Hello, Esther.
Just a while ago, you mentioned the mother and the child as an example of beingness in remaining present and with form. And I was realizing how being a mother is such a gift of grace. And with regard to that, and I've been wanting to ask you to speak about, I guess something similar to the gift of motherhood would be, in the content of experience, there is a freedom that I experience and that others experience. I'm not sure how. I was going to ask you to talk about this, the joy of participating participating in creation, so to speak. Like Holly is an artist who makes jewelry, and Tara cooks, and Zoe plays the drums, and I know Shiva's an artist. And in my experience I've been with a group of people doing watercolors, and this whole experience, this freedom, it's almost a gift of grace that, you know, we are given to it enables me to release the sense of personhood. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a freedom engaging in this creative process. And I wanted to ask you to talk about that, but I'm not sure one can. Can you? Is it possible to talk about that?
You know, so whenever we, let's say, whenever we park the personal self in the parking lot and step out of that, there is love and beauty and joy and peace and friendliness and freedom. So sometimes there is art mixed with ego, then I wouldn't call it art, and I know that's not what you are talking about. But when we engage in any activity out of our happiness, out of the joy of expression, of being, that expresses itself via the body mind in various activities, whether it's a creative activity such as, you know, talking about your painting, or Zoe's drumming, or Shiva is an artist too, and Holly, and whenever we step out of a personal sense where the activity is about me, and the activity is beyond me. Maybe you want to create something for a friend, to just offer something to a friend, or just for the joy of creating or playing or expressing or exploring or discovering. It's happy. It's happy. It's beautiful. It's lovely. You know, in relationships, when we meet in love, we meet out of the joy of being. It's very beautiful. We're present to each other. There's a listening space and open space, non-judgment. It's very beautiful, very loving, very happy. And whenever the sense of the separation arises again, a judgment or an old habit of wanting things differently, resisting, seeking, then we could be in middle of very lovely creative situation, and then it's all it taints it, you know. You know, Francis often says that it's about happiness. Happiness in creating, happiness in being. Happiness expresses itself in so many ways. But we don't get happiness out of any activity. We express. Happiness expresses itself in activity or in stillness, in silence, in being. And the greatest happiness is to be knowingly what I am, to be knowingly that which is. And that has nothing to do with any personal characteristics. It doesn't matter, the personal characteristics, when it comes to being knowingly what I am. So I think we find ourselves drawn to be engaged in creative activities. That's very beautiful. Going for a walk, drumming, painting, singing, doing yoga, whatever it is that comes to you from your freedom, from your joy. Thought may arise, gee, maybe I'd like to write, or I'd like to draw, or I'd like to just sit and look out the window. It's all equal when you come from that place of love and beauty. You know, you could be driving in traffic and somehow you come to presence out of the bubble of the thoughts and the images and the ideas. You come to simple presence, pure presence. It's very transformative in the entire space. It's creative. It shifts the scene from being sort of trapped into the scene into just a scene appearing within your freedom, within your happiness, within your infinity. So I would say that, you know, if we're enjoying whatever we're enjoying is beautiful, and we don't need to have any images or ideas about it. It may shift. You know, it may grow more and more into your passion, or you may find yourself interested in something else the next day, next week. We don't know. We don't know. And it really doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. So we remain as we are, you know, and whatever is unfolding as we remain as we are is beautiful, because we are not becoming something. When I say we remain as we are, meaning as that which is, as this transparent presence, you know, which is very loving and sweet and intelligent and wise and takes care of things without compromising its freedom. So I'm glad you're enjoying your painting, Esther. Very lovely. We're just loving hanging out together. That's very beautiful. Oh. Oh, Kelly, yes, right. This is so wonderful today. Thank you, Magdi. Love hanging out together too. Yes. I think that's really the beauty of satsang, is hanging out together.
Here, here.
Yay.
Well, very lovely. Love you all.
Love you, Magdi.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes. Yes. Hello, Emma. Hello, Emma.
And also post the stuff on YouTube, yes?
Okay. Okay.
Once, please.
Okay. I will. Okay.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Okay. Okay. See you. Bye, Kelly.
Bye-bye.
Bye.